How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of our Lawbet Luxury Cars Friday Drive. Now today we have something very different. You know we love a Porsche, but this time we're in the Taycan 4S. Fully charged up now. Obviously the Taycan being an all-electric vehicle, we've got our Get Chargers out the front with the double Bowser here, so I'm going to take it off and we're going to go for a drive. So the Taycan is Porsche's first iteration of an all-electric vehicle. Now there's different options. You've got the Taycan 4S, which is the one that we're in now. Then you've got the Turbo, which is strange because it's got no turbos in it, but it's got the styling and the package. You got the GTS as well. Now I actually recently, very recently, in the last week or so, drove an Audi e-tron RS GT, which is very similar to the Taycan, right? They're built off the same sort of body. A lot of the niceties inside are very different, obviously being Audi and Porsche, but they're both VAG grouped, so there are many similarities. And it's interesting now that I'm driving it to see the differences in the drive, the ride, the systems, how they are inputted as well. The great thing I think about electric vehicles, particularly these performance electric vehicles, these sports cars, if you were to drive along the motorway now, right, and there's, to our right hand side, you've got the equivalent Carrera 4S, very fast car. They're awfully capable, but if we were then at 80 kilometers an hour, which is what we're doing right now, put our foot down, before the actual Carrera could even think about taking off, an electric car is going to be down the road and gone. See you later. It shows how impressive it is. You get the full allocation of the kilowatts and the power instantly at the tip of your fingertips, at a split second, right? Whereas with a Carrera, the engine has to take time to generate its power. It's still super fast, but it's not instant, and that's what makes these things really impressive. Now, I want to talk about one thing with electric cars that's actually really important. Now, I'm going to go into the menus, just in here. So this allows us, if I go into car, and then we go to recuperation. Now, our recuperation is off at the moment. Now, something really important here, and we did a little bit of testing with this just beforehand, and the recuperation allows the battery to regenerate. So now it's on. What happens is, as I lift my foot off the throttle pedal, you can feel the car start to slow down a little bit more aggressively than when it's off. So as I have it off, and let's say I speed up, I'm doing 55 k's an hour, I release, the car just keeps rolling. It's maintaining its speed. Whereas as soon as I press on, now we're instantly slowing down a little bit faster. We've dropped nearly 10 kilometers an hour in the space of probably 20-30 meters. I've driven a lot of different electric cars and performance electric cars, like the Mercedes EQS, the e-tron GT. Something that's really impressed me with this is that the regeneration isn't really intrusive. Sometimes you feel like your head's going to smash the steering wheel because you've lifted off the throttle and the thing's really slowing down. Whereas with this, it just feels like it's nice and comfortable. It's not going too far out of the window. You're still comfortable on the drive. If I just lift my foot off, as we do naturally, it's not really killing the speed, but it's just enough where it will start to regenerate that battery so we have better range. Now the ranges are roughly from 250 plus. Now, especially, it's no different to like a combustion engine. It depends how you drive it. If you drive in lower gears, revving the thing out a little bit more, of course, you're going to have a worse fuel consumption. It's no different to driving on the road in an electric vehicle. The benefit of this is, a lot of people will say, but what if I want to do more than 250 Ks in a day? Well, the likelihood is, the average Australian travels no more than 17 kilometers every single day. Now, realistically, how many kilometers do you really think you're doing it on a daily basis, particularly when you're driving something like this? Probably not that many. You're not going to really push the boundaries of 250, and even if you are, the infrastructure now is so vast for vehicles like this, and the charging capacity. Speaking at this event last week with the e-tron, and one of the people from Audi was saying that they're having chargers come in now that can go further than what the cars are capable of. So the new iteration of vehicles and these new sort of levels of charging, you're going to be able to charge these cars in 2-3 minutes. Now realistically, on a drive where you're doing over 250 kilometers an hour, realistically, how important is that 2-3 minutes? I would argue not very much. If you're doing over 250 Ks and you were 2 minutes late to something, I think you'd probably be forgiven, wouldn't you? So we've got our regeneration. We're gonna keep that on because I quite like it. It's almost like a bit of engine braking, if you will. Now we've got our drive modes. Drive mode here, we've started off in normal. We've got range, which is going to increase the range. It's going to lower the amount of capacity from that 320 kilowatts down. That's instantaneous power. But then we've got sport, which is obviously, you know what we like on this channel. We like noise, we like going fast, particularly with me. So we are in a residential area. I'm not going to put my foot down, but that sport mode gives you everything. As much power, as much velocity, as much effort as the battery can physically drive in those wheels. And it's really, really impressive. So as soon as you go into sport drive mode, it goes into sport for the chassis, for the suspension, but you can also go into sport plus as well. But you can also tinker with it. So I can feel the car's got a little bit stiffer on the suspension. The steering wheel's got a little bit heavier as well. Very typical stuff from a sport plus mode or a sport mode. But again, that power delivery, that's what's really important with these cars. So when you really look at it, what's the benefit of having that combustion engine other than the noise? These cars are so impressive now that they give us absolutely everything. We're coming up to a couple of speed bumps here, so I'm just going to lift the car up. I can start to feel the front of the car raise. So because it is a lower vehicle, it's still a Porsche after all, and I'm going to drive straight at them rather than trying to be clever, and it's just dealt with it so easily. Now I'm pretty confident on the medium setting it would do it, but if you're just a little bit worried, you've got a driveway, big speed bump, that lift is really, really nice to have in the car. It's just another level of detail that's really important. And I just click it very quickly and all of a sudden the car's raised up. Go over these, and they're fairly high speed bumps. And I'm in Sport Plus chassis mode and it's still super, super comfortable. As I was talking just then, and some keen-eyed viewers might have seen what is to my right, but I'm going to park up next to this thing because this is like one of my all-time favorite cars. I'm just going to pull up next to it. Look at this Carrera. It wouldn't be a Friday drive without having a look at something like this. How cool is that? The wing on the back as well. You can eat your dinner off that thing. It's awesome. When it comes to that customizability with the suspension and the lift, we've also got it just here. So rather than having to go through the menus, you can have that lift all the way up and then all the way down. So it's a little bit more accessible than trying to go through a menu as you're coming up to a speed bump. You might have something else already there. You're going to have to take time. So having it there is really important. Same with this. Straight in there, sport, you can see it goes straight into the sport mode and away you go. And then one more time it goes into Sport Plus. And then one last time it goes back into the comfort mode. I'm just cruising along and I could do this all day. It's a brilliant, brilliant car, and it's still very, very Porsche. I've just thoroughly enjoyed it. I think there's a bit of a stigma with electric vehicles. People look at maybe a Prius or a Tesla and go, oh, I can't do that. But these performance manufacturers, these sports car manufacturers like Porsche, Audi, Mercedes, and the rest, you even look at the hyper performance electric cars like the Automobili Pininfarina as an example. Those cars are doing numbers that combustion engines physically can't do themselves. And maybe the Pininfarina Battista is probably not a good example for the road necessarily as an everyday thing, but in something like this, I see no reason why people shouldn't look at them as an option more than maybe they thought they could. And all you have to do is just drive it. Because as soon as you drive this thing, start to understand it, I actually think a lot of people would never look back. And that says a lot about these cars. And as a racing driver, I'm used to high speeds. I put my foot down in one of these things and I feel like I'm going fast, which I think says quite a lot. And that's it for our Friday drive this week with the beautiful Taycan 4S. Now, I've had so much fun driving this car, and I think it's really important that we forget the stigma about electric vehicles. Like, these sports performance electric vehicles are so capable, they're so much fun, and I can honestly just say, just try it. Come and try one, because they're so impressive and they're really, really good. I've had a lot of fun. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, follow our YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time.